Let's have a question from the web.
This next question comes to us via email from Richard McAdam, who is a VAC billing clerk at VONCSC, and I trust there are people in the room who know what that stands for. The question is, VON provides home care to many of Canada's veterans, ranging from 105-year-old World War II veterans all the way to much younger vets returning from Afghanistan. Often, there are bureaucratic barriers for some veterans getting their care covered by Veterans Affairs Canada, forcing them to pay out of pocket for the in-home services that VON provides. What will a future Liberal government do to remove these barriers so that those heroes who have given so much for their country will receive easier access to benefits and coverage from Veterans Affairs so that the state covers their services?
It's a very good question, and I think we've been troubled in recent months by a sense that we're nickel and diming people who put their lives on the line for us, and I think every Canadian's troubled by that. And so I think there's a kind of culture shift that we have to do over at veterans, and an incoming Liberal government has to click that switch. Let's stop nickel and diming people who've served their country and put their lives on the line for us. It's a cultural change, an attitude change. There have to be rules, there have to be procedures, it is public money, but let's start with a disposition that someone who has served their country and come back wounded in mind and body, the presumption should be they get what they need, and they get it as long as they need, because they risk their lives for us. So you start, I think, with that value statement, and then you work out the details. And then you listen to veterans. We've had a problem with lump sum payments for veterans. We have to make sure that they've said lump sum payments don't work for us, so you have to listen, you have to change policy. And we're now looking at pension payout. I think some of the family care stuff that we have may have benefit to veterans' families in the sense that we want to help pay with out-of-pocket expenses for home care. But we need to listen to veterans and make absolutely sure that in cases where they're not getting the services they need, they get them. And I just think this is one of these cases where you just got to do what's right. Just got to do what's right. But above all, listen. And above all, break down these bureaucratic barriers that I think are making veterans increasingly angry. We saw that at the Veterans Forum that we held during prorogation. Just fury, incandescent fury from veterans. I haven't seen anger like that politically in a long time. And I may not be the smartest guy in the room, but I know a political signal when I'm being sent one. And we gotta respond. So thank you for the question.
Mr. Ignatieff and Mr. Bryson, thank you very much for coming today and for your comments. My name is Catherine Butler, and I'm a registered nurse, and I'm also on the broader leadership team with VON. Mr. Ignatieff, I think you actually already alluded to this in some of your comments earlier about the provincial and federal jurisdiction around healthcare. But I was reading earlier this week in the Globe and Mail about rumors, and I put that in quotes, floating around the Hill about the potential of a nonpartisan committee going about Canada and having that broader discussion about the future and sustainability of the healthcare system. Now, as a smart nurse, I take everything the media says with a grain of salt. But having said that, I wanted to know about your thoughts and your comments and your party's comments about the notion that was also mentioned about reducing, having a focused discussion about further reducing the federal role in healthcare. Notwithstanding that I understand the political origins and the financial origins of our provincial system and the makeup of the system, the thoughts I would like to know about are what your plans are around ensuring that we do not erode a federal role so much in our system that we end up with a further dismantled process to healthcare and further reduce potentially universal access to home and community care across this country.
Thank you so much for those are two huge questions. The first one is what consultation, what kind of national conversation we should have. Look, I'm in favor it doesn't become a useless talking shop that avoids taking tough decisions. This business about renegotiating the health accords, it is 2014 when it comes up, but believe me, the conversations have got to start now. And what I would not want is to have politicians and those who are elected in public trust kind of passing the parcel around. If we get elected as a Liberal government, we need to start those discussions with the provinces now. I mean, now. And if it takes 3 years, it takes 3 years. Or we get it right. We get home care right, right? We get this very complex issue of drug coverage right. It takes three. That is, I don't want to short circuit any national public discussions and conversations why I'm in this room, because I want more of it. But I don't want us to create some kind of thing that kicks all these issues into some expert panel. They go around the country. We have another, Romano. We have another this. We have another that. Politicians have got to step out now, take their responsibilities, and do what you pay us these big bucks for. I mean, that's my sense of it. That's number one. Number two, I believe passionately that the federal government of Canada has and must have a role in safeguarding the Canada Health Act, the principles therein, and the key point for me is the unity and indivisibility and equality of Canadian citizenship. That's the bottom line for me. This isn't just about health care. This is making sure that your citizenship means roughly the same thing in every postal code in the country, and means roughly the same thing whatever your income. And this is why healthcare is such an emotional issue for Canadians. We want a basic equality of access to this system, and the federal government is the key guarantor of that. So proposals that we've heard, and they've come from other political parties, and they've come from rogue voices that I think are testing the wind to see what'll fly, and there's a lot of games going on here. There are no games with this party. The federal government has a role in healthcare. Its role is not to manage it and micromanage it and intervene in provincial jurisdictions. The provincial jurisdiction in healthcare is a good thing, not a bad thing in our country, because it allows flexibility, it allows adjustment, it allows different strokes for different folks, it allows innovation. I'm positive about it. But at the end of the day, there has to be some guardian that says, let's make sure that Canadians have roughly comparable, equal access, free at the point of service, for the health care provided for all Canadian citizens, period. That's what we're in the job to do. That's what we must do. And I feel we can do that without a heavy hand. I feel we can do that with allowing experimentation and diversity within our health system. But we've got to be the guardians of that principle. We have for 60 years, and under my leadership, we would continue to do so. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn Power, and I'm from Newfoundland, Labrador, and I'm also involved with VON at the local level and at the national level. And just picking up on something you said in the beginning, one of the things you dropped about getting practitioners to go to rural and remote areas. Certainly, we all know the health human resources issue has been on the agenda, been talked about, the challenges. There's been a number of initiatives ongoing around recruitment and retention, but the primary focus has been on institution. So if we're really going to get the health starts at home, we got to get some kind of a pan-Canadian, every setting sort of health human resources that not only just looks at recruitment, but also looks at retention. And I'd just like to ask you to elaborate a little bit on where your thoughts might be in that area.
Mm-hmm. I never like to oversell what we've proposed, and what we've proposed, and we announced it at Scott's Community Health Center in his riding, was an incentive that if you finished nursing and you got substantial student debt, or you're a nurse practitioner, you got substantial student debt, and you commit to serve in designated rural, remote, and northern communities, we would wash off as much of your student debt as we could. I can't remember what the exact number is, but it's a substantial commitment. But no one supposes that's going to fix the health human resources issue solely. That's what I don't want to oversell, because you're raising a really serious issue.